Too often, too many people think that when one grows up, is born in, is surrounded by circumstances that would dictate that they are not going to be successful. Too often, people think that they can't be successful because of the lack of growing up in a rich neighborhood, or not having two parents, or having circumstances in your community that are kind of negative. Then too often, too many people think that, well, they can't be successful because they are from Unionville, or they are from Pleasant Hill, or they are from South Macon. Well, I'm happy to report to you that that is not the concept or the feelings of our guest today, Miss Vickie Perdue Scott. And then I don't know why, Vickie, that sometimes people cross up your maiden and your last name. Sometimes people call you Vickie Scott Perdue, but it's Vickie Perdue Scott. Now I know because you're from the Perdue family.
I am. I am very proud legacy.
Yeah, you do. You
Thank
do.
you.
Particularly as it relates to education. So I'm so happy to have you on the show today. By the way, this is a call to action.
A call to action.
And I'm your host, Alex Habersham. And as I said, that and what's very interesting, uh, not only does, and we're going to talk about all the good things that she's doing with the Legacy Builders Foundation, but not only is she talking the talk, she walked the walk, because she was born, or she went to a school in the hood. Yeah, in Burdale.
In Burdale, Appling, and Northeast High School, proud graduate.
And lived there and went to Appling in the Northeast. So her concept is, and I'll get to her in a minute, that if she can do it, in spite of the circumstances and the environment. Now, we're not saying that she was disadvantaged, but, environmentally, she was with the other young people who grew up, in the same neighborhood, and all of them didn't have daddies or uncles who were principals and teachers, but in spite of that, I think that she observed that with the right kind of training and the right kind of exposure and the right kind of experience, everybody can succeed. So rather than my saying the basis around which she found the Legacy Foundation, I'm gonna let her say it. But first of all, tell us a little bit about yourself.
Well, you've really summed it up. I am so very honored to be here to speak to the Macon and Bibb County community, which I so love. I grew up in East Macon, Fort Hill, Norris Street, to be specific, and my father's family of 12 were all graduates of Burdale, Peter G. Applin, and Northeast High School. At that time, my grandmother, was a single parent. She was widowed when my father was 14, and so Legacy Builders Foundation is named not only to honor him, but also to honor my mother's legacy, who was a kindergarten and first grade teacher for decades at Burdale. It's now Burdale Hunt, which we are very dedicated to supporting. But their legacy, when they passed, I wanted to continue their work. My mother in designing after school and summer programs and high quality educational programs, and all the teachers and educators and faith leaders and community leaders who poured into me. I wanted to give back. And my father, who was a builder among lots of other builders, who built Macon, with their bare hands, partnering with contractors and developers to build East Macon, but all of Macon, not only homes, but shopping centers in those areas. And so Legacy Builders Foundation was founded after I retired early to begin the foundation, really listening to the call of God on my heart to really give back to my own community. And so I can tell you a little bit about my journey. Of course, graduating from Northeast High School, I then attended Mercer University. I have 2 degrees from Mercer University, just very honored I met some outstanding supporters and professors there who poured into me and taught me the value of servant leadership. University of Georgia, as well as Nova Southeastern University. So as my father said, I have more degrees, but the one degree that I'm most proud of is the degree in which I serve as a servant leader to the community.
Yeah, you got a degree in servant leadership. How about that?
I do, and have 3 beautiful children, and they're all adults, and 2 beautiful grandsons. So
Yeah,
to their legacy, I am here standing on the shoulders of so many who poured
yeah,
into me, and I pray will pour into them.
yeah. That is so outstanding. So tell me how you came up with this concept, the Legacy Builders Foundation.
I will be happy to share that with you. It was a vision that was really placed in my heart as I was caregiving for my mother. Most people who know my mother know that she was paralyzed for more than 32 years. And in
Wow.
caregiving for her in my home, she was injured in the classroom as a kindergarten and first grade teacher. And I saw so much. As you said, I didn't know I was poor. It was actually, I grew up in Fort Hill, but I had a wealth of resources, a wealth of love, a wealth of joy, a wealth of individuals who had very high expectations for me. And that carried over into my life. They taught me certain values and beliefs, and they built my character. And I just believe that that's so important in what we do every day. And so Legacy Builders Foundation, I saw 4 areas, and there are 4 pillars with which the foundation was built on. The first, of course, is the foundation, and that is our faith. And so this was
Okay.
taught to me by both my parents, but then the 4 pillars are education, because
Education.
education is, to me, the access to everything. Knowledge is power, but wisdom is much greater. And so my father would often say to us that you can possess a lot of knowledge, but without wisdom, it really takes you nowhere. And so I really stand on the shoulders of those who have gone before us. The second pillar was healthcare, because what I saw in high-need, underserved communities was a lack of access to healthcare. And the third, of course, is housing, because although at that time, most of the community, there were homes being built by many of the bricklayers and many of the unions and electricians and cabinet makers. Those were all people that lived in my community. And there were jobs that were created as apprentice and internships. And so I saw people that, quite frankly, looked like me but didn't look like me, who supported the community. And then the last, of course, is economic and community development, because when we all have access to the same high quality resources, the healthy community exists. We have an unhealthy community in many places throughout the nation, but also throughout Macon and North Georgia. And our role, for those of us, as you said, who have been able to not leave the community, but been able to aspire, it is our responsibility. And this call to action is not just for me, but for everyone, because we each can lead. It doesn't cost us anything to lead and serve.
That's very true. And then, while you talk about East Macon, I'm gonna talk about Tyndall Heights.
That's right.
That's where I came from, and I was well loved and what have you. Now, if you would, and we're gonna get to your camp because I know you want to talk about that.
I do.
Let's talk about some of the activities in all 4 of those pillars.
Absolutely.
And what you're doing, and if in fact there is a way that you can reach out to the community, both as supporters and participants, then find that in your discussion of the pillars.
Absolutely. And I'll start first with education, because what I saw when I was growing up, and I was a part of the school district when it was integrated, and had wonderful friends quite frankly, on all fronts. I was at Birdell. We were then moved to Alexander 3. I had wonderful friendships that developed there. But what I saw was access. The first time I smelled a new book, a new instructional book, I was at Alexander III. I'd never smelled a new instructional book. And I think that's what led me to a career in education. I wanted to ensure that all children had access to high quality instructional material. But I can tell you what I've seen with the children that I've mentored, and literally there have been thousands. And so my wealth doesn't exist in money, my wealth exists in relationships. But what I realized was that when you can establish, number one, high expectations for children, and they know that you believe in them, and they know that you can assist them to gaining access to those resources, because so often, just because I'm poor doesn't mean that I'm not intelligent, doesn't mean that I'm not bright, doesn't mean that, you know, I'm not gifted, I'm not talented. All of our children have special gifts and talents. And so I focus on college and career workshops, ensuring that families who may have been just like my parents, service professionals working in service careers, had access to those quality educations. When my mother was paralyzed, it was my brain, my academic scholarship that allowed me to go and attend Mercer University. And so I want young people to see that based upon your gifts and talents, you can aspire to do anything. There's nothing that you cannot do. And so part of that was opening up to parents through our parent university, our college and career workshops, the access to those resources so they would know what was available. In addition to that, we have provided scholarships annually. We mentor young people. To answer your question about how this began though, we had many community conversations very early on. I remember Union Baptist Church, Reverend David Stanley was one of the first hosts for our community meetings, but many have been held. We try to hold them quarterly. COVID has really prevented our spring quarterly meeting, but we hold quarterly summits in which we bring the community together. And what we saw was that based upon our seniors responding, based upon our young people responding, that there were four main pillars with which there was tremendous need. And so we decided just as a body to begin focusing on those needs. So the second area, of course, was around healthcare and understanding from our seniors. That really was a loud voice from our seniors. And so many of our seminars have focused on stroke prevention, on heart disease, on diabetes prevention, because there are ways, things that we can do to prevent these illnesses. And so we try to get on the preventive side, not on the side of now we're in the hospital. And of course, those diseases impacted my own family. Third, we focused on housing. Because what we have seen as our neighborhoods have transitioned, we see that there's not the level of affordable housing. There's not the level of assistance that's needed for a family that may be transitioning. We've received a number of calls from to our foundation from victims of domestic violence, of individuals who've lost their jobs for the first time, not being homeless because they have never experienced that before. And so we have a new voice of poverty now, and that embraces, of course, and impacts our children. And then the last, of course, is economic and community development. Building apprenticeships and internships. Every summer, we provide not only for our elementary children, K through 12, we partner with the school district, but also with the community and faith organizations to ensure that children have access to high quality science, technology, reading, engineering, arts, and math. And people ask me, well, Vickie, why did you choose those areas? One thing that I know to be true as a district administrator, and I've served as an assistant superintendent and deputy superintendent, is that in fourth grade, algebra is introduced. And so if children at that grade level can be introduced to high quality instructional material, then there's less of a gap as they move through middle and high school. And so we like to take them when they're babies, when they're kindergartners, and start to instill in them how to think using their higher order thinking skills, how to think and problem solve, how to be able to work in teams. So our camps are designed where all of the scholars work in project teams. And I'm so excited because probably one of my greatest challenges with COVID-19 was how do we deliver this high quality instruction this summer? But economic development starts there. Most people say, well, no, it really starts in high school. I challenge that, because when a child in kindergarten can take their gifts and their talents and their passion, whether it's in math or music or whether it's in dance or whether it's in language arts, and we can build that, then now I have an incentive to learn. I know why I'm learning, and I connect that learning, and it's relevant. I have relationships with people who believe in me, and now not only is it relevant, but I can see my future. And so we start to build that future very, very early, so that as they transition, when they move into middle school, they actually become interns in our program, the same scholars. When they move into high school, they become paid interns. When they move into college, they have guaranteed positions when they return every summer. And so that's the relationship that we have with our children. We want them to know that we're here for them. And I believe that that can transform any life when you know that you have someone that's going to be there, that's going to be consistent, and that will hold your hand and help you navigate what is very, very complex. And so those were the pillars we started with. But I can tell you, economic and community development is really critical, because when I can give hope, I can provide an apprentice. And I can remember my father having 40 apprentices as a brick mason. And these were young men who probably would have been on the street. Many of them were his pallbearers when we had his funeral. Young men, actually adult men, came from out of the woodworks that I didn't realize my father had mentored, but he had mentored them because he took the time, and so many others. I could name at least 40 to 50 young men in my community who took time with me, but provided them with summer jobs, provided them with evening jobs. As most people know, my father had a shoe repair shop. I cannot tell you the numbers of young men that worked in that shoe repair shop, earned enough income to support their families, also provide food, shelter, and clothing. But it was a way for them to know that there is a way for me to get out of poverty if I work, if I really have a place. But someone has to give them that hand. And so we're creating, and we'll be creating through our urban redevelopment plan, because we have been approved for the Walnut Creek Urban Redevelopment Plan. We will be creating those jobs. We will be taking the community, those individuals living in the community, the painters, the contractors, and putting them back to work to rebuild our communities. No one else can do this work. We must do this work.
Yeah, I'm glad you mentioned Walnut Creek, because
yes,
I noticed, in the information that East Macon, although it said and the general community, it seemed that there is first of all, this is a call to action.
a call to action.
I'm your host, Alex Habersham, interviewing Miss Vickie Perdue Scott,
Yes.
who is doing a phenomenal job with her foundation, Legacy Builders Foundation, and got all these pillars that she's working with, all of which are extremely important, to the community. Can you, and we need to leave time for your camp, so we got about 8-9 minutes left.
Yes.
Since you kind of make it a cyclical process in
Yes.
dealing with these young people, can you just cite 2 or 3 success stories?
Oh, absolutely. I could cite hundreds and probably thousands.
That's why I limited
because
you.
again, this relationship with children, I tell people I haven't worked a day in my life because I love what I do. And I can actually remember meeting your brother and as a student council advisor with Miss Leontine Espy with my first started my career at Central High School. And I can remember the student council leaders and all those, but I worked with exceptional students. And so I can remember very early on individuals pouring into me. But navigating that process is very important, Mr. Habersham, because so many young people that we've touched. And so I'll give you just a few stories. There are young people who, and I'll start with the camps, that have started with our camps in kindergarten and 5th grade. And those young people are now in school. And every year we feature them when they return from college. They're guaranteed position within the foundation. And one is a dental student. He was a graduate of Savannah State University. Another is a graduate of Northeast High School and is now a pharmacy student at Mercer in Atlanta. I could go on and on and on. And these are young people who not only did we pour into them, but now they have the responsibility of pouring into others. And
Right.
I cannot, not speak to all of the public and private foundations. I'll speak to those individuals both within the school district, but also the community and faith leaders who also support our programs and all of the museums and others, because it takes a village. It takes all of us bringing together our resources to support the children and families that need us the most,
Right. Now, how do you get all these pillars to work mechanically? I mean, wow, how do
Uh,
the
very
work,
delicately. Um,
education, and then economic development, and then health. So, what do they look like as a
okay.
mechanically, trying to deal with all of these important issues?
Absolutely. Well, we have champions. Not only am I a champion, but I have partners throughout the community. An example with our healthcare initiative, HCA Coliseum Healthcare is one of our partners, but Navicine is too. And we have partnered not only for college internships and had many of our scholars actually working there. We also have held health seminars at Rosa Jackson Center where our seniors have benefited from over 100 last May for Senior Appreciation Day from different senior facilities came and spent a day with us. We had breakfast and lunch as well, but they were able to learn about all of the healthcare needs that they have and to ask questions in a very comfortable environment. Each of those pillars, so education, I have a core of outstanding scholars, but I also have medical school students. I have individuals from non-traditional areas who come and speak to our young people. So I have artists in residence. I've partnered with Otis Redding Foundation for several years now, and we introduced our young people to different genres of music because cultural literacy is so important to be able to not only understand another culture, and that's what we're seeing in the world right now, but to appreciate, because we have our differences really unite us. Our differences unite us because we all are so unique. We all have such an appreciation for different things, but what I often find is tolerance. And that is not what's needed. What you'll see in our camps this summer is a social emotional piece around restorative justice practices. And that is, how do we build healthy children? How do we teach them how to, many of us don't know how to cope with our emotions and with how to express ourselves. So music is the way that we found that is, we call it the universal language. So a lot of our camps this summer will focus on that. But I have different, for each pillar, there is a champion in those areas and many, many partners. If I start to name them, I will miss someone, but from the Harriet Tubman Museum to the Museum of Aviation, the Museum of Arts and Sciences, every facility, but we also have private and public foundations that support us, as well as the Bibb County Public School District and those private schools, because I believe our community, we have to set a standard within our community for what is best for all citizens. It shouldn't matter what our street address is.
Yeah,
it should matter that we all deserve a standard of living in each of those four pillars.
We don't have much time left, and I know that
I want to talk about the camp.
talk about
Yes,
the camp, which is on
I do.
2 weeks, starting
And you
July.
have it's 2 weeks in July, and you actually have the flyers. Families, you will air it, I'm sure, and individuals we will send it to all of our faith and community partners. This will be our virtual online camp. It will be available. We have scholarships available now. Because of the generous contributions from United Way. We've served on their COVID-19 recovery efforts, and of course, food insecurity, childcare, all of these were areas. And so not only will we be providing families with high quality science, will be focused this year on reading literacy, cultural literacy, but also enrichment activities, art and music. We'll have dance, and all of this will be virtual. Children will be able throughout the camp, Monday through Thursday, and we will have a specific time for kindergarten through second grade where parents can actually register the children, but then they will have activities that they can participate in. We're partnered with My Music Ed. Mr. Darren Bell is the CEO, and he is the creator of My Music Ed. And it is a restorative practice in which our children use music to really learn social emotional skills and begin to cope with some of the things that can't be explained. Even as adults, we can't explain what's happening right now in our world, but we can teach children how they can cope positively and how they can respond and really rebuild this world. I think we're in a rebuilding process. Someone said, well, we're tearing things down. I think we're in a rebuilding era, and that is what is so beautiful. We have an opportunity to rebuild what the world should look like. And so the camp will be in July, 2 weeks in July.
Okay. Well,
would you like for me to state those dates?
Yeah, that's okay. Talk a little
Okay.
bit about who is eligible and talk
Who's
about
eligible? Absolutely. Kindergarten through 5th grade. We have, this will be the community model. The school district will also be implementing, I think during the year, I know I've introduced the same partner to them, but we plan to develop a community model. So faith and community partners may register. I will be sending out a communication, not only through the city government, but through the school district and through our faith and community-based partners. Parents can register. There's an Eventbrite that you will have on your site. So there's an Eventbrite. Parents can go in if they need additional resources. If they can't afford the camp, we will serve as many as we can until spaces are all filled. We have about 1/10 of our operating budget that we have normally operated on. We normally have served 150 children per day the entire summer, and we also have, not just for the academic portion, but also for our summer feeding program. And we now will have backpacks for those families, as well as we will be supporting them returning to school and their families having groceries. So every child who registers and completes the program, K through 5, kindergarten through 5th grade, and it's early registration, so we'll open that up in the next week.
Let's tell them how to register. If there's a website.
It's Eventbrite, and if you will give me a moment, I'll pull it up.
Yeah.
I sent you the link, so I don't know if you have a way to actually post it on your site, but they can register at Eventbrite. There's a place for Legacy Builders Foundation, and let's see if I sent the link.
Okay.
I was told that
we could scroll it on the screen.
you can scroll it on the screen because it's pretty lengthy, and I don't think most people will have a chance to write it down, but it is through Legacy Builders Foundation, and it's on Eventbrite. You can register. We just need your information about your child. And again, we'll send you the link so that each day a parent can actually call in through Zoom, and we'll have the instructors. I already have the instructors. Everything is ready and set to go in Community Foundation, United Way, as well as we have several foundations that have supported us this summer. The Baldwin Family Foundation, we've been supported in the past by the Griffith Family Foundation.
We're about out of time. Matter of fact, we are out of time. This is a call to action.
A call to action.
I'm your host, Alex Habersham, having interviewed Miss Vickie Perdue Scott.
Love you all.
The Legacy Builders Foundation, and you can go to Eventbrite.
Yes.
And if you need more information, you can just call my office.
Yes, you have the flyers.
At 478-464-0074. Congratulations on what you're doing.
Thank you.
I really appreciate it.
Thank you for your leadership and support.
And you making a difference. This is a call to action.
Thank you so much. And again, thank you.
Yeah, you're welcome. I'm your host, Alex Habersham. Have a great day.